Hey, Neil Plotnick here. Welcome to another edition of Learn IT with Mr. P. This is my digital journey, part two. Part one dealt with the time that I was a youth to the time I got out of high school. This is my college years from 1979 to 1985. So, Binghamton University, or I call it SUNY B, or the State University of New York at Binghamton, is nestled in basically a river valley where the Shenango River meets the Susquehanna. It's about an hour due south of Syracuse, about an hour due north of Harrisburg, 8-10 miles from the Pennsylvania border. It's a lovely school, excellent for people who want to go to medical school. A lot of pre med students went there. A lot of people went to law school. Engineering school is there. It's really an academic center of excellence and one of the best state schools in the country. And I'm very proud to have been a graduate from Binghamton. There are some well-known alumni on the top left. Stephanie Courtney, who's much better known as Flo from Progressive. She's been doing that gig for a long time. Hakeem Jeffries, the man with the green screen behind him. He's a U.S. congressman from New York City. He's the highest ranking Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives. If the Democrats were to come into power with a majority, he would probably be the next Speaker of the House, to be the first African American to be Speaker of the House. Top right, man with a big smile, not a lot of hair in his head, is noted sports journalist Tony Kornheiser. His PTI show, part of the interruption on ESPN, is going on for a long time. And the man on the bottom is Paul Reiser. He's an actor. He's well known for his sitcom Mad About You. He was also in the original movie of Aliens. So there are others, but these are some of the most well known Binghamton graduates. This is a picture of me back in the day, sitting there on a drafting table because I was a geography major. And what am I doing here? Well, I'm actually writing a computer program because computer programs were not done at that day and age on a terminal. There's no screen in there. There's no computer in my room here. There's just a Fortran coding sheet, which is that green piece of paper that I have displayed here in the bottom right. I have a little calculator, and I also have a template that I show you on the top right. This is a flowchart template. When you were designing programs back in those days, they taught you how to write a flowchart where you'd use different images or different icons to tell you what the program is doing. Was it asking a question, if statement? Was there output? Was there input? Those kinds of things. Now, as far as I know, we haven't been teaching how to do flowcharts for a long time in computer science coding classes that I've taken or I've delivered. We don't talk about flow charting anymore. So it is something that I learned how to do with structured programming, but it's maybe you can still see these things. I know that there are templates for doing these, but they don't teach this anymore in computer science. So this was ghastly. My introduction to computer programming at Binghamton was really just not a fun thing. We had these punch card machines, which were really loud, very difficult to use because every time you made a mistake, you had to get a whole new card. I did another video about that. And you wouldn't see that images on the top right. That's the IBM mainframe, generic stock image of what a computer would look like. But we didn't see the computers. We got to see the punch cards. And on the bottom right, we got these output on green bar paper. Hopefully your program compiled and read correctly, but normally it did not do that the first several times you tried it. You'd have to write a new punch card, run through the machine, wait 10-15 minutes depending on the load, get your green bar paper, find your name on it, stack from the stack, and they were coming out of the machine constantly. So it was ghastly. I didn't like it. I had no idea why anybody would want to be a computer programmer. But that's the way it was back in the day. But something happened. We were using Fortran in the Department of Geography. Even though we were geography majors, we did a lot of computer stuff. So one summer, I took a computer programming class at Westchester County Community College, very close to where my parents lived. And the professor was really excellent. And we got to use terminals. So instead of having to use punch cards, we got to use this text based terminal that had arrow keys. You go up and down, left and right. You can change things. You don't have to throw out the punch card if you made a mistake. And as I said, the professor was quite good gave me a really solid foundation for Fortran programming. And he told me, looking at what I was doing, he said, Neil, you're really good at this. I had gone through a change. I learned that computers were not my enemy, but they're actually my friends. And my parents, with a little bit of lobbying, bought me my very first computer, a Tandy 1000, which was an IBM PC clone, 4.77 kilohertz, two floppy disks, 384K of memory, so zero point 0.3 megabytes. That was an upgrade over the standard, and a dot matrix printer. And this became my new toy. And I used it to write papers. And with some friends of mine who also had personal computers, my friend had a Commodore 64, I started learning how to make these things work. And I started having some fun. Yeah, I played some games, but it was mostly like, how do you make this thing do things? How can you make a computer work for you? And I started to get pretty good at it. So I started grad school. There are some interesting images on this. At the top middle, there's an Apple IIe. And underneath it, there's a picture of an armored vehicle, like a tank covered with camouflage netting. Let me explain. Dr. Shinyi Shu is a professor of remote sensing, and he said we're going to learn how to use image processing software to look for things like a tank that's hidden under camouflage because it still leaves a shadow. So, in order to do that, we bought an Apple IIe with a CPM card, and the VAX, a computer at the data center at the school, had the main tapes that he had got from former students. We had to figure out how to get the data from the VAX to the Apple IIe using a dial-up modem. That was my job. So I went to the computer center. Technician there showed me all the steps to figure out how to get the data from the VAX to the Apple II using Kermit, which is a terminal program, file transfer program, and then convert it to CPM. So I wrote down all the steps, printed it out, and Dr. Shu said, this is the best manual he's ever seen. It made sense. It actually became the documentation that the department used going forward for anybody who had to do this task. So remote sensing, Apple IIe, I figured out how to get the data from the VAX. Dr. Shu said, bang up job. On the top right, that's a IBM PC-AT, an 8286 CPU, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers emblem, or their symbol, right beneath it. Now, what happened was the IBM PC-AT was purchased specifically to run a piece of software called HEC-1 for the Hydrological Engineering Center. Now, this is software that you would use to calculate how big a flood you had to protect against by building a dam or a levee, depending on how big the drainage basin was. Was it paved over? Was it grass? Was it hilly? Or whatever. Now, the program, we got it on the IBM PC-AT, didn't work. So I figured out how to get it to work. I realized at this point that the computers were more interesting to me than the actual task. In other words, doing the Hydrographic Engineering Center software or the remote sensing was not to me as exciting as actually getting the computer to do the job. So what did I do? Well, I left graduate school, probably about 8 credits short of my master's in geography, because I decided I wanted to work with computers. And that will be the next topic of a video. So please, I hope you like this, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any comments or questions, I'd be more than happy to take them up. Thank you again.